Yeah, my greatest urging right now is for all the attorneys who have a heart for humanity to advance the temporary restraining orders based on the evidence that we have on the vaccine adjuvants. That alone, the toxicity and the science and the documentation, even congressional records, is enough to say, hey, courts and judges, please stop this right now. And I really am not seeing a lot of heroic attorneys come forward, and the ones that I believe are heroic, I just watch them stalling and stammering and debating whether or not they should do, X, Y, Z. Gee whiz, we're running out of time.
Well, even if you're for taking all these poisons from Baxter and Bayer, who knowingly ship out HIV-filled factor 8, killing people in mass on record. I mean, we can pull up the MSNBC report. I mean, this is not us just saying this. I wouldn't dare come out and just say that about Bayer or Baxter if it wasn't in the news. I get emails saying I'm making it up. No, these companies admittedly do this, and then now we're going to trust their vaccine that the squalene alone, the Army admits they suspended the anthrax campaign because it was killing the troops.
Right, and it's more concentrated in this, according to the reports that I've been reading.
And, Alex, I also want to add that Baxter is in partnership with CSL, which is basically the Australian pharmaceutical company that is connected with Rupert Murdoch's Research Institute. That's Murdoch Children's Research Institute that is actually conducting swine flu trials on babies and children up to 8 years old.
And pregnant women.
And it's actually being there's a class action suit against Baxter and CSL right now. There's a hospital, a small hospital, that is suing them because they are restricting the blood supply that the hospital has. And so what that means is it's all connected dots. I mean,
well, these companies connect back to New York because I had the doctors involved who were in the prisons. Remember back in the late 80s, they banned prisoners giving blood, but in Arkansas, Clinton would ship it out to New York, then to Toronto, and then to these companies filled with HIV. People they knew had AIDS and hepatitis were allowed to give. They do this because they're eugenicists.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I want to reinforce the American Red Double Cross. The American Red Cross was created by the Rockefeller brothers. They first started the Blood Council of the City of New York that then gave rise to the American Red Cross. So what we're really witnessing when we give blood to these demons, we're really allowing them, they're using our blood to transmit disease so that drug industrialists can make vast fortunes off of humanity's suffering.
This is just hard to deal with, knowing the facts and seeing how diabolical this is. Dr. Horowitz, from studying how they've done things in the past, you predicted the anthrax attack successfully with total precision and said it would be through the mail because you saw their studies on it. Looking at other studies they've done with dark winter and other flu pandemic scenarios for martial law lockdowns, how do you in your crystal ball see them releasing something? What areas of the country? How would they do it? What should police that are waking up, that are compartmentalized, what should they be on the lookout for?
Well, I think Los Angeles is the highest likely place that a Central Intelligence Agency, because Rockefeller controls CIA, and CIA is on top of all the infectious disease organizations. That's according to their own documentation. They see infectious disease as a national security risk. So CIA oversees NIAID. Dr. Fauci, he's a puppet of CIA. So we're looking at, if you read the book Death in the Air, Globalism, Terrorism, and Toxic Warfare, like I said yesterday on the show, I came out with the title long before September 11th. And you think about Death in the Air, globalism, terrorism, toxic warfare. Very few people were talking about that back then. And evergreen helicopters and the covert operations, the fronts for the CIA that are operating the aircraft, it could either be spraying, they could easily redo what they did in the New York subway systems and in the tunnels of Pennsylvania Turnpike. Years ago, CIA and United States Congress investigated CIA wrongdoing involved in spreading biological weapons over San Francisco. They could do the same thing.
New York subway, deaths resulted, details remain classified, 1968.
Right, exactly. So these are their capabilities. And again, I believe they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I believe that, because we're all waking up, and I believe that just like you shared with the pre-announcement that Building 7 was already coming down in Europe, that's Thomas Gloscher runs Reuters, intimately connected to the drug industrial.
And it was Reuters. I want to just stop you. It was Reuters. At first, 2 BBC channels simultaneously reported the exact same text. Their news reporters reading off teleprompters said Solomon Brothers Building 7, 47-story building, has fallen completely from fires into its own footprint. And then the firefighters are all standing there, and then they hear the countdown. 25 minutes later, they're told, get back, we're bringing it down. This is on CNN video as they're running, and then it blows up. And then BBC said, no, you don't have that video. No, we lost the video. No, it isn't real. Then they made a TV show on BBC last year admitting, okay, we just screwed up. And then the reporter admitted on the BBC News article they wrote, the editor of the BBC News admitted Reuters, quote, screwed up, and an hour before gave us an internal news brief that Building 7 had fallen with how it actually fell. Okay, that's like saying somebody's going to have a heart attack in an hour who's walking along healthy. Police are going to come back to you and say, did you poison them? How did you know that Bob, who was 45 and in perfect health, sitting at a park bench, was going to die in an hour?
They had a crystal ball, Alex.
They had a real crystal ball, and then it came out, Reuters. I don't know if you knew this, Doctor, but you just brought it up. But we discovered Reuters was the one that sent that to BBC.
Yeah, and that, look at also, before anybody knew anything about this H1N1, Reuters reported that it was a combination of avian, swine, and Spanish flu viruses that now they agree, that the scientists agree. How did they know that early on, and how come they reported that? And then when you just consider
then it turns out they had patents years before. Stay there.